Today I'm sharing with you this masculine project in our art journals. It's nice to do something masculine for a change, and using the book called Expressions 2, Mostly Men. So if you're looking for some masculine images to do in your art journal, this is a perfect book for it. So I've got some tissue paper here, and you saw I just put a wet brush across it, marking where I'm going to tear, so the water helps it to tear in that line a little bit better. And unfortunately didn't have the video rolling when I was painting my background, but as you can see, it is just 2 colors of paint in random areas, kind of 3 splotches of each color. And then I'm going to put on some fluid matte medium. That'll hold the tissue paper down. And the reason I painted it first is because you will see some of the color right through the tissue paper. So rather than having a white page behind it, this gives it some color. And the matte medium, rather than putting it just where I'm going to put the tissue paper, I'm actually just covering the whole page with it. Some of it's going to soak into the paper, so I am going to need a fair amount of matte medium on there. This paintbrush I'm using is a Dina Wakley, the 2-inch wide brush. Love it. I use that often. It's great for backgrounds or like this where you're just applying to a large area. Gets it done pretty quickly. And while the matte medium is wet there, I'm lifting it up to get rid of some wrinkles and add some extra matte medium because lots of that has soaked into my page. So make sure it's got lots on there to make it adhere good. So just adding this tissue that's got some letters and numbers onto the background gives you some good background for a masculine image. Right now it doesn't look like much, but we'll get it to blend in and it will become just part of the backdrop for our focal image. And with the matte medium, you really only need to put it underneath the tissue paper, but it doesn't hurt to put it on top, so I'm just basically sealed in my whole page. Some of the tissue paper is sticking off the edge of my project page there, and that's okay. Once it dries, I will just trim off that extra. So now what I'm doing is taking some of the same colors that I painted the background in, and I'm adding that mostly over to the edge of the tissues. I'm just interested in getting it to blend and kind of meld into the background a little bit more so it doesn't fight with the focal image when I put that down. So this just helps to push it into the background a little bit by covering up some of those edges, getting it to blend in with the paint a little bit. When you're using translucent paint, you could even paint it right over top of the letters, just so you see just a little bit of it coming through. It just helps to push it to your background. And there I'm happy with how the background is going and the tissue's just blended in there. So now I'm taking some black archival ink and stamping with this stamp that's got like cursive writing, but it's not meant to be legible. If you tried real hard, you could probably read a couple words on there, but it's just meant to add another layer and the look of writing into the background. And then I think what the project needs is a pop of color. So that's where you see I've got some yellow paint ready to go there. And that's going to be my color that really pops out on here. I think it's a nice contrast with the blue and greens that are in the background right now. So I've pulled out this Tim Holtz stencil. It's got numbers on it as well as some words, but I'm really interested in the numbers for this project to kind of go along with the theme of words and numbers that I've got going on. And knowing that I plan to put the focal image pretty much in the center, so I'm leaving the center area, not bothering adding anything to it, but just focusing on putting some pops of yellow more around the edges where it'll show up a little bit more on the project. And you can see I'm doing some numbers sideways. It's really just to get that yellow color going on the project. And then I've just added a squirt of water to my yellow paint just to get it a little bit watered down there. And then I'm going to add some yellow splats to the background as well. Normally I would do this with the Tim Holtz splatter brush. I love using that. It works so easy and so it works just so well. But I've misplaced mine. So back to the old method of just knocking some paint off the paintbrush, which it works too. So it's just going to add a little bit of that yellow color all over. Sometimes you see people doing this as the final step on the project, which works too. I like to do it before I get my focal image down because I'm using a face, and so I don't want yellow paint splats across the face. So this way it just ensures that I'm getting that poppy yellow color in the background only. And this is the book the images are coming from. It's called Expressions 2, Mostly Men. And I'll give you just a sneak peek through some of the images there. You can look on our YouTube channel and you'll see the full flip through of that book, so you can see everything that's inside of it. So this page here has black and white images, and the beauty of working with black and white images is you can do your background in any color you want, and it's going to work with black and white. This is a great book full of images, and there is the original Expressions book as well that tends to have mostly more female images in it, but this one's got all the guys, which is unusual, so it's a really nice book to have. Also getting the quote out of this book. Towards the back of this book, there's lots of nice quotes in it. And this quote happens to be on a design where it looks like it's torn paper with a thumbtack holding it up. So rather than go in and cut with scissors and get a straight line, I'm just using this tearing ruler. It's a metal ruler. It's got an edge that when you pull the paper up, just looks like it's got kind of that torn look to it. And that really works well for this quote. So that's what I'm using to get it even out of the book. People that don't like to fussy cut, that's a good way to do it too. Just tear. Yeah, I like the look of the black and white image on the colored background. And here, just deciding what the composition is going to be, how I'm going to fit the quote and the image together. And I've decided that the quote needs to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to tear off that little branch. Just to get the quote down to a size that's a little easier to put into my composition there. And you'll see I struggle here a little bit because there are some straight edges on the image. And I'm trying to kind of cover that up. And then I decided, well, rather than having it as a straight line, maybe it would help if I had it as a torn edge instead. So we're going to experiment with it. Being a little torn helps rather than a straight cut. And then I'm still going to try to cover that up. And I thought, oh, maybe I could use the torn off piece. And then I ended up, no, discard it. So it's, check out all your options as you go along, see what works for you. So the other thing is the bottom of this image is again cut in a straight line, which I not really like the straight lines. And it kind of looks like this head is floating on the page. So to get rid of that look, I decided I'm going to put some washi tape along the bottom, and it'll kind of finish off the bottom edge there and get rid of that look that it's just a floating head on the page. So putting down a generous amount of matte medium there, and then just going to use that to adhere the image about where I want it to go. Straighten it out a little bit. And I'm also putting some matte medium right on top. So my whole page is going to be finished off with a coat of matte medium there. And decided where I'm going to put my quote so I can get that down as well. Sneak a little bit more matte medium underneath if it's starting to feel like it might be lifting. You could also ink the edges of all the images that you're putting on down. Sometimes I do that. This time I didn't feel like it really needed it, so left the edges. I think it had a little bubble or something underneath the cutout there, so just smoothing that out, get any air bubbles out. And then I'm going to start off with this wider washi tape. It's really wide, but it's got the right colors, and it's just goes along with that theme of text and numbers. And I want to make sure I start off with a nice torn edge rather than a cut edge. Figure out the length I need, and then I'm actually going to tear the top off so that I've got an uneven torn edge at the top rather than this flat edge, just to add some interest there. And then this is going to work to cover up that cut edge from the image and help to kind of ground the whole focal point, so it's no longer this floating head on the page. And then as I went through my washi tapes, discovered I have some that are the right colors for the background, so pulled out all the ones that I thought might coordinate. And I'm going to tear the end of it so it's got a torn end instead of a cut end, and then just layer them up to add some more of that color since it happens to coordinate. And it doesn't show up very well on camera, but this is, it's got a map background that's in the same colors as the paint in the background of the page. And then it has a line of gold airplanes flying on it, which in person shows up as nice bright gold. For some reason on camera, it's just really hard to see the gold on there. But it works well with the page. And then this one is also kind of a travel theme background where the colors coordinate, so layered a bit of that on. And then this last one has colors that it's really pulling from the colors of the background, so decided to add a little bit of that too. And it just helps to give some extra layers, a little bit more torn effect. And I make sure that everything is layered and uneven and different lengths, and just kind of keep that interesting. And there's our finished page and some close-ups.